Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom. To you, hopefully elect, I'm your brother Yahweh Call from the Great Millstone, Orlando. And this is just going to be a chat with the church, basically just a spiritual rant, you know. Um, just something that was on my mind, has been on my mind, something I've been meditating on, observing in the spirit, you know. Just understanding the times that we're in, where so-called friends are going to become foes, family members, you know, just meditating on all these things, like I said, something that I've been observing, noticing through the spirit, how the Lord is strengthening certain relationships. The Lord is keeping certain boundaries with certain individuals, and of course it's all the Lord's doing, because I can say at one point I would basically take matters into my own hands. I would try to force certain individuals out of my life, but just through the spirit, the Lord had it to where the Lord would keep those individuals around, and it's, in fact, some of the the bond that's being strengthened. Like I mentioned, the Lord is strengthening certain relationships, and certain people that I tried to just push away forcefully, the Lord, He's keeping them around, and vice versa, certain individuals, that would seem dear to you, they would seem, like family, right? Turn out to be complete demons, and the Lord get rid of their ass, but that's the thing about it. And this is another thing I've been observing or noticing, not, because by now, when it comes to the brothers, the body, at the end of the day, when it comes to the body, when it comes to brothers, this is all we got, because the hell with friends, the hell with family in the world, you know, just because you're related by blood, so-called, that don't mean shit, because it'd be the so-called closest people to you that they do you wrong, man. They end up hurting you the most, and again, because it makes me, again, just appreciate the body more. It makes me appreciate the brotherhood more, because Jake really don't got nothing in this world, man, but Yahweh Bashem Shai, and that love is expressed through brothers, because it's just getting to a point, man. It's bad enough brothers circle is tight as it is. Brothers have a small circle, but it just seems like more and more that circle is becoming even more smaller, because I at this point, outside of brothers, the really on the real family that I got, that I'm really at this point, because you really don't got, you get to a point, you don't have love for these people, man. You just, because when I go out, like last week, my brother, so-called brother, all right, me and him came out the same womb, but again, that don't mean shit. At this point, that don't mean shit to me, just because, we might have the same father, the same mother, that shit don't mean shit to me, because they say blood is thicker than water. Well, like I said, man, the hell with so-called family, because whenever I do end up going out with so-called family, like I said, just last week, my so-called brother, He got us free tickets to, I don't even know what the theme park is, but nevertheless, the point being, because in moments like that, when we go out, I gotta ask, is my misanthrope gonna come out? And if you don't know what that matter of fact, I'll look it up real quick. With a misanthrope, right? I always ask that question. Look it up real quick, because and that, it's spiritual as well, because the more you pretty much retract your spirit, the more you withdraw yourself from this world, from these people, the more they want to hang out with you, the more they want to invite you to the cookout or whatever the case may be, because I'm always getting invited to birthday parties or whatever the case may be, and it's just I might go every once in a while to get some food, to be honest, get some food and get some liquor, to be honest, but that's every once in a while, but the definition of a misanthrope is, it says, a person who dislikes humankind and avoids human society. So you see, all right, and I always ask, when I'm getting invited somewhere, I go out with so-called family or whatever, I always ask, is my misanthrope gonna come out? Are you gonna see my misanthrope? Because you just get to a point where you're just so detached from this place, you're so detached from these people. All right, you just detach from everybody, but nevertheless, like I said, it makes me appreciate brothers. It makes me appreciate brothers more, because truly brothers is all we got, because again, when it comes to so-called family, man, they'll do you wrong, they'll hurt you, again, it'd be the closest ones to you that'll break your heart, and I try to give certain of my so-called family, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt every now and then, but they just constantly, it's like through the spirit that they constantly remind me of why I can care less about y'all people, you people, man, because I was going to make the point, outside of brothers, really the only people I really, like I said, really care about like that for real, and I hope that the Lord shows them mercy, is really my father and my mother, and that's about it, because when it comes to so-called family, and I got a few precepts on mine, I'll get to them. Again, this chat with the church is more so a spiritual rant, but I got some precepts, but when it comes to so-called family in the world, anyway, when it comes to favors, right, it's like you can't ask Jake for shit in this world, because even if, let's say, I need $50, just to get me through the week, you ask a certain family member for $50, and let's say they give it to you, of course, you pay them back, but that whole time, man, but that whole time, they're fucking, they'll hound you about it. They'll, throw it in your face, even if you end up paying them back, right? They'll throw it in your face later on down. There's always some catch, there's always some, there's just always this catch when it comes to, people in this world, so-called family. And that's why I mentioned with my father and my mother, I've got nothing but the most, utmost respect for my parents, because they never asked for anything in return, just the sacrifice that they do on my behalf. I'm just speaking for myself, but when it comes to everyone else, so-called family, brothers, sisters, there's always some catch, You know, they'll use certain of those events to throw it in your face later on down the line. It's just like, what's the point? You know, and again, this is supposed to be so-called family, so-called blood, right? And that's why it's just to the point where it's just like the hell with so-called family. That's why Yahushua said, who is my mother, right? Who is my brother, right? You know, who's my real family at the end of the day? Because to me, blood don't mean shit. All right, I can care less about these people, and I'm talking about so-called family. I can care less about these people. All right, you know, and going back to brothers, you know, because brothers don't ask for shit, you know. Brothers don't expect anything in return, you know. If you know, you need $50, man. Hey, a brother hit you over, you know, hit you over with $100, you know, just to make sure, you know, just to cover, you know. And there's no, you know, they don't come with no, you know, no strings attached or anything. It's just, you know, hey, and you know, brothers don't second guess either, you know. Hey, because like we say, hey, if I got it, you got it, bro. You know, don't, hey, you'll offend me. You know, talking about, hey, I'll pay you back. No, you'll offend me. You don't need to pay me back. You know, ain't no pro quo over here. No favor for a favor. No, bro. You know, and that's the spirit of Yahushua, the spirit of Yahushua. So that's why there's nothing like this brotherhood, man. This is truly all we got. You know, because when it comes down to it, man, hey, the hell with these people. You know, the hell with this world, and the hell with so-called family. You know, fuck family at the end of the day. You know, the only real family I got is those serving Yahweh Shema Shai in sincerity and in truth. And that is the brothers. All right, the brotherhood. You know. So I'm gonna grab this and what is that? Psalm 41. Psalm 41 and verse 5. Mine enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die and his name perish? So see, I'm gonna read that again. Psalms 41 and 5. Mine enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die and his name perish? So you see, man, again, so-called family, so-called loved ones. All right. You know, basically, man, they look forward to your downfall, man. You know, they look forward to your downfall. You know, that's why it's you know, just be careful who you keep in your circle, man. I'm real protective about my energy. You know, at all costs, to the best of my ability, I protect my peace at all costs. You know, I don't allow certain energy around me. You know, even when it comes to my demon, and she hates when I do this shit, but hey, I can care less. I'm about protecting my peace. You know, the biggest investment you can make is within yourself, and part of that is your mental health. You know, that's the thing right now. You know, amongst Jake, you know, a lot of men are waking up to, you know, their mental health, you know, mental stability and things of that nature, which is important. You know, you got to protect your peace. You got to protect your mental space, your spirituality. You know, because when who was that? King Saul's daughter, right? When basically she ran him off to talk shit against King David cut her ass off. All right, you know, he cut her ass off, and that's how, you know, when I give that treatment to my demon, even when she acts up, when I just cut her off, I'm not gonna talk to her, say nothing to her for a week, 2 weeks. You know, and I know she hates it, but hey, yeah, I know she feels it. You know, but hey. When you come to me, you come correct. All right, come with the correct energy. You know, because I say this all the time when it comes to brothers. Hey, we read spirits over here. All right, we read spirits. And like I said, I'm real protective about my energy. All right, you know, so you know, I just again say all that to say, you know, just be careful, man. Who you let around you, your circle. That's what I was saying in the beginning. You know, Yahweh Shema Shai has it to where he's setting it up to where, hey, the Lord is, you know, removed certain people. All right, the Lord has certain individuals doing certain things for me to just be like, you know what, I can't even say I love you, because I don't. Again, the only love I got, and I you know, I know, again, you know, certain people get jealous Um, because you're already gonna hear me say I love you. Which that like they say in the world, man. That's the love, man. That's a strong word, man, and it is. And I'm only gonna, you're only gonna hear those words from me if I mean it. If I actually got love for you, and I only actually love brothers, man. Hell, my own children don't even get a, and it sounds cold-hearted or whatever the case may be, but that's just how I am. Now that's not to say I neglect my responsibilities, as a husband, father, and all that. Um, but all that lovey-dovey shit, I ain't got it. I'm not that dude. I'm not trying to win Father of the Year awards. I'm not trying to win hubby of the. I'm not. I don't. I can care less about all that shit. All right. You know. But just making the point, hey, my own children don't even, don't even hear those words from me. Because for one, it's more than just words. It's an action. Love is an action. So I mean, just because you don't hear it from me, nevertheless, my actions are going to show. But brothers need to, speaking specifically, about brothers, because it's been in my spirit to mention this, going to this lately, just how the Lord was like it, how Jake, they don't get told enough. That Jake doesn't get appreciated enough. Jake doesn't get shown enough appreciation. Jake needs to be told certain things every now and then, because we don't get it from this world. When it comes to the Israelite man, we don't get shit from this world. So again, going back to man, the beauty of this body, the brotherhood. Jake don't get shit from no one in this world. We don't get shit from shit in this goddamn society. And that's why, hey, we are a world within itself. The Wadi Al Shy. So Jake needs to be told these things. I'm not going to tell a brother I don't love him if I don't mean it. Again, at this point, I only have love for brothers. I only love brothers. I respect them as my father and my mother. All right. But at the end of the day, man, all I cared about is brothers. Because these people, and I'm talking about so-called family, so-called loved ones, all right? I can care less, man. So from there, I'm going to go to this in Jeremiah. What's that? Jeremiah 20. It's something that I say all the time, this world will break your heart. This world will fail you. These women, they'll break your heart. But hey, Yahweh Shema Shah, he'll never do us wrong, man. Jeremiah 20 and 10. For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Reports say they, and we will report it. All my familiars watched for my halting, saying, peradventure he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him. So you see, man, and that's why when it comes down to it, man, at the end of the day, fuck Jake. All right. It's not personal. It's just the Lord's business as of right now. But fuck Jake, man. I'm gonna read that in the NLT. It says, I have heard the many rumors about me. They call me the man who lives in terror. They threaten. If you say anything, we will report it. Even my old friends are watching me, waiting for a fatal slip. He will trap himself, they say. And then we will get our revenge on him. So you see, man, Jake is full of shit. All right. Fuck Jake at the end of the day. Fuck family. All right. Fuck all these people, man. All right. The Wadi Al Bashimal Shah for true and sincere brothers. A brother will give you his shirt off his back, man, if needs be. Like I said, hey, if I got it, you got it. And that's a sentiment for all brothers, man. Hey, if because if one wins, we all win. That's the sentiment. If one win, we all win. I look forward to brothers' testimonies. You got the one page, I think it's from the elder out there in Valdosta, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but he has the GMS testimonial page. I love that page, and watching those different, because the brother posted the dreams, but also go the testimonies, And I love watching, brothers' testimonies. And I look forward to it. There's gonna be more testimonies on the behalf of brothers. Because again, hey, if one of us wins, we all win, man. It's just vice versa. If one of us hurts, we all hurt. But more so, if one of us wins, we all win. And hey, that's what it's about at the end of the day. You know, we are all we got, and we talked about this this past Saturday. That's why it's important to cherish the body while you got it, because you have it to where, hey, certain, the Lord's taking certain brothers out peacefully. Certain brothers are being called home. And call Allah Yahweh Shema Shah, because this ain't going out like niggas are going out. Niggas are dying, gruesome deaths, but brothers, the Lord is taking brothers out peacefully. But nevertheless, because the scriptures talk about how, hey, we're going to desire to hear a man's voice, and we won't be able to. Roughly paraphrasing. So hey, if a brother's on your mind, hit him up, send a text, because you never know. You never know. It might be the last time you see that brother, or at least on this side. Because hey, we're gonna be reunited on the chariot ultimately. But like I said, man, this is just a spiritual rant, a chat with the church, just a few things that was on my mind. Lord willing, this was edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully, like.